right, we're live. Greetings and welcome to United Black Association for Development Educational Foundation 12th African Emancipation Jubilee and African Reparations Awareness Day community conversation known as Free Your Mind. We really want to give big thanks and praises to the youth drummers then from St. Bite. I refer to them as St. Bite youth drummers. I had to get their name because I want to make sure to know them. As long as we could bring their youth, we can bring them. We have Ijani Ramos, we have Niger Maximo, Ere Ramos, Jamai Martinez, Rejan Laurie, and Eton Castillo. Big thanks. We have to big up the chaperone, Sister Alana. We come all the way from St. Bite. I have to recognize and to Quebec, we recognize all the people who support the event. I give thanks for who show up and everybody who they listen for XTV, Creme Radio, YouTube, XTV Belize, Facebook, XTV Belize. Give thanks. Our guest this year came all the way from the United Kingdom. We had a guest last year from the United Kingdom as well. And I met Breddah Gus John through Sister Esther Hosei, who is the leading reparationist that I know of. So Breddah Gus had an 80th birthday earlier this year. And one of my friend when he, like I say, what friend here, Gampa line, a friend named Eddie Nestor. This is what Eddie Nestor said about, you don't know if you even know this man, but this is what he put on Instagram about you, and I really like it because it's true. He said Professor John came to Britain from Grenada in 1964 to study theology. Make I put on my glasses, I know good and well. They're the age you need glasses to read. Professor John came to Britain from Grenada in 1964 to study theology and has spent 6 decades shaking tables, lifting voices, and demanding justice. He became Britain's first black director of education, helped build the Black Parents Movement, fighting for children failed by the system. He's advised governments, taught in top universities, exposed institutional racism, championed youth justice, and called out injustice with unmatched clarity and courage. He has never compromised, never quiet down, never stopped pushing for change. Breddah Gus John, the mic is yours.
Sisters and brothers, young ones, thank you for the drumming. Thank you for being here. I am not I'm not quite sure exactly how best to share what I want to share with you, but I'll do so anyway, because I think I would want particularly to listen to yourselves, especially about your experience of schooling and education and the ways in which you are being prepared for life. When I was asked by Sister Yaya to come here and to share some thoughts based upon my own work in the UK, as she said, I've been working in England, Scotland, Wales, a bit in Northern Ireland since 1960. It's been quite a journey. But my focus has not been just on Britain. It's been international. It's been on the African diaspora, wherever we find ourselves. And it's all by my commitment to the struggle for human liberation. And so what I want to share for the next few minutes before we begin to have a conversation is based very much upon those 60 years of struggle in the United Kingdom and my experience of working with liberation struggles in the Caribbean, in South Africa, in other countries, Nigeria, and so on. So I want to begin by saying, and some of you who would have been present this morning would have heard me say, when I poured libation to our ancestors, that emancipation, while we celebrate the occasion of emancipation, emancipation as a process is still ongoing. And it is ongoing because of the impact that colonialism has had upon us, upon the way we define ourselves, upon the way we are defined on the axis, particularly of race and of class, and the way in which societies are structured in order that particularly the privileged continue to enjoy privileges quite often at our expense as working people. So, in that vein then, let me say this. It is important that this nation and every nation that had been affected by colonialism and enslavement sees itself as being in need of repair because of the damage done to its people by imperialist and colonial exploits and the way the population has been encouraged to see itself. This and every other nation cannot fail to confront the legacy of empire and to see schooling and education as having a major societal function in dealing with the legacy of empire and in the healing of the nation. Now, why healing? Healing because we are still dealing with the trauma of enslavement, of colonialism and neocolonialism. We continue to endure that trauma to this day, and indeed to inflict trauma upon ourselves. It is necessary to engage in repair in order that Belize, in our case, could better equip its young people of every ethnicity with the values, the knowledge, the understanding, the skills, the aptitudes that would enable them to build a future nation that has the hallmark of equity, of justice, and respect for human rights. My mentor and guru, the late Paulo Freire, the Brazilian educator, said this: education either functions as an instrument which is used to facilitate integration of the younger generation into the logic of the present system and bring about conformity, or it becomes the practice of freedom, the means by which men and women deal critically and creatively with reality and discover how to participate in the transformation of the world. My friends, please come and join us. There are chairs here. Come, come, come. That is why intergenerational dialogue and cross-generational activism and self-empowerment is so crucial to our and our capacity to flourish and lead meaningful and fulfilled lives. We need to embrace the responsibility to ensure that our young people's lives are not characterized by what I call the destruction of hope and the death of aspiration. You don't fix that by increasing the number of correctional institutions in the society for young offenders or by building more and more prisons. The Right Honorable Marcus Garvey said, we are going to emancipate ourselves from mental slavery because while others might free the body,
I'll get you another mic, Breddah Gus.
So here we have again a reminder that we need to engage in self-repair. How we see ourselves, how we define ourselves, how we stand tall and confident in our own black skin, and how we make sure that other people do not treat us as lesser human beings because of our black skin. So, from my knowledge of what local activists, yourselves as local communities, indeed your representatives, are having to contend with on a whole raft of issues across this nation, including the cost of living, unemployment, crippling levels of crime, current systems of governance appear to be functional, a host of unheard voices. It also leads to dashed hopes and unrealized aspirations. But in every society that I know, protests arising from those are often met with resistance in most societies by the heavy arm of the state. This is another stark example of the repetition I was talking about earlier, whereby the injustices that were heaped upon us during enslavement and the plantation system continue in different forms across civil society every day of our lives. But much of these protests by ordinary dispossessed people against those systems of oppression simply underscore the relationship between justice and peace. With the absence of social justice and the transparent operation of the rule of law giving rise to righteous resistance and, in some cases, conflict. And in this connection, it is worth us remembering the mantra which Martin Luther King and others used, that peace is not a manifestation of the absence of conflict, but rather the presence of justice. There appears to be an urgent need for a reset, both at municipal, local government, and national levels, though not necessarily under the banner of the main contending national parties and their local party infrastructure. The problem we have is that too often that system that enables our democratic participation too often leaves people behind and does not necessarily reflect communities and their needs. I believe that in our societies, if not in developed societies, there is an urgent need for people's assemblies and of mechanisms to ensure that civil society can be confident that the interests of communities could be served irrespective of political affiliation, party affiliation, backdoor influence, and the ability to shout the loudest. The famous Frederick Douglass, as early abolitionist, American abolitionist, as early as 1857 said this, and it's still true today: find out just what any people will quietly submit to, and you have the exact measure of the injustice and wrong which will be imposed on them. And these will continue till they are resisted with either words or blows, or with both. And he ended that quotation by saying, the limits of tyrants are prescribed by the endurance of those whom they oppress. Frederick went on to say, if there is no struggle, there is no progress. Power concedes nothing without a demand. It never did, and it never will. I believe that above all, we collectively, adults, children, societies, particularly that are oppressed and dispossessed, must believe in the power of and the participation in collective action to resist oppressive conduct, to safeguard rights, and to bring about change. And I want to end with this. Paulo Freire, the Brazilian educator whom I mentioned earlier, had this to say: education does not change society. Education changes people. People change society. And it is for that reason that we stress the importance of people people taking collective and of us all ensuring that schools prepare our children not just to conform to the system as it is, but to use their talents and develop their talents in such a manner that they see themselves as change agents, realizing the potential, knowing what they're good at, building upon that, and using their talents, using their collective energy to bring about changes that they need in their lives. So on this day, Emancipation Day, let's remember that the job is not done. We are not yet free. We may be free from the shackles of enslavement, but our minds are not yet free. System continues in the residue of colonialism and imperialism by making us not believe in ourselves, by making us abandon our ancestral and practices, by encouraging us to pray for everything, to build more and more churches, and to be so involved in the business of praying for a better tomorrow that we don't use our energies to take care of today. So we have a lot of work to do. And we have a lot of work to do to secure a better future for these young people and equip them to build a better future for themselves. And it doesn't matter how much pomp and ceremony that we use to mark emancipation, whatever it may be, politicians going to church, dignitaries gathering and having pomp and ceremony. All of that might be important, yes, but what we remember is that it is not enough simply to observe the act of enslavement being ended in 1838, but understand all that has gone on since, particularly the fact that our communities continue in the main, Africa itself as a continent and all of its diaspora, to be seen as people who can be people and regions that can be exploited, where everybody is needy. And to end with this final example, it distresses me greatly that across the Caribbean there is this system that governments have introduced one after another, which they call citizenship by investment. So what is citizenship by investment? The government advertises that if you have 200,000 pounds or 500,000 US dollars and you want to come and become a resident, a citizen of their country, Trinidad, Jamaica, St. Vincent, St. Kitts, wherever. I don't know whether you do it here in Belize, but you can spend that money, you can commit to spending your wealth in that country, and you're automatically given citizenship. And some people with deep pockets who take up that offer are even made ambassadors by the country in question. Even if, in some instances, they are required to visit the country only 5 times in any 2 years. It means, therefore, that anybody who so chooses could spend their money, which to many of them is just pocket change, get citizenship, and determine the future of your country by influencing what politicians do. You have people living in Belize right now who've been doing that for a very long time, and you know who they are. So they're able to influence the political process, the electoral process, and give so much money to this party because they want that party to advance their interests. And that party then goes around and they hand out, I don't know, 50 Belizean dollars or whatever it is to ordinary folk. And to some people that means a lot. So effectively they're buying the support, the electoral support of the population, and retaining power through that process. So while you believe that the electorate is using its vote freely in order to bring about the kind of changes it wants, behind the door, behind the locked door, are these foreign people with their loads of money turning the screw in the backs of your elected representatives and effectively getting them to do what they want. Emancipation is not a done deal. And that is why we need to be organizing ourselves to ensure that people's power, the exercise of people's power, not just through the ballot box, is what is going to bring about change in our circumstances and secure a more guaranteed future for our children. Thank you.
Brother Gus, everything we say, that we need to hear. But the whole time you talk, I say, I don't believe in a poor libation. I don't believe in a poor libation. And it's so important for us as Belizeans to understand the importance of pouring a libation. We have one big audience because we're on XTV, Creme Radio, XTV, Facebook, and YouTube. And for a number of people who may identify as Christian especially, and based on what you just shared with the miseducation as another form of mental enslavement, I think people yearn for something else, but they don't know what else. Because most, the libation that you've poured last night and this morning is the first for a lot of Belizeans. So please share with me why libation important, and in an instance like this, why I should have served libation before we started the conversation.
Okay, so I wasn't particularly fazed by that. I was aware that we had not done it. I could have started by doing it. But I was conscious of the fact that the people who were here when we started had all been part of last night and also part of this morning. The ancestors aren't greedy. They are not greedy. So we spent a good time last night starting the weekend by doing the libation in the other place behind the zinc. And we continued this morning not only by venerating our ancestors, but by acknowledging the deities that govern the rivers and the seas. The significance of that being that it is on that very sea that boats came to bring our enslaved ancestors to these parts. So having done a full libation ceremony last night and spent an hour and a half at the sea this morning, I don't believe that the ancestors would have been hungry for more. So let's not distress yourself about that.
Okay, so that's a good learning experience to me. Now I know Brother Gus really want young people talk, and one of the observation I have that when they're there by themselves, they want to talk, but when they're in a community space and you give them a mic, they talk low or they not talk up, and that is important that they don't participate. So I want to ask you know. This is our last meeting for we tell you to go back on the second year. I just want to tell we how you feel about your experience last night and this morning, because it's different from last year. Anything you want to feel, because especially the two where they beat drum, just tell me how you feel about the year with we and for your experience last night and this morning, especially with the libation. You're not Garifuna children. So you're more in tune with the spirit than maybe one number of black youths that believes. So I'll pass the mic round. You don't have to talk long, you don't have to talk loud, and just tell me how you feel about your experience. Each one of you, I'll pass the mic. Come on with the mic. Yeah, just tell me how you feel. I want to get used to talking publicly, right? So we're in a community. I just ask you how you feel about last night and this morning. On a beat last night, I want to beat this morning. Just tell me how you feel about the experience.
Or if you have any questions about it.
No other comment.
The on the air.
I feel actually great to see new faces and get to know the professor.
Uncle, so everybody wants to ask any question. You can't quite because we're up on the air, so you can't have that air. People listen for radio and TV and then they hear nothing. The question is, tell me how you feel about your experience last night and this morning. Anything what you feel about your experience.
Well, last night I feel great, and this morning kind of sleepy.
Okay, put your mic closer to your mouth, because you can't hear you.
This morning I feel kind of great, and last night kind of sleepy though.
See, listen. Unless we give we children this opportunity, they will never learn to find their voice publicly. So it feels different for them because they're not used to it, but they're in a community. We care about it. And this is the way Brother Gus to talk. Beyond go to school, forget passing grades. It's talk about way to learn at school where and help you live life and be your best self. And one of them things is finding a voice, speaking up, feeling confident in a crowd, for say how you feel about something. So if you don't practice it, how you want to get better? Thank God for participating. No one is surprised by this. Make a hear air for him in a gar. If not, never mean strength. Make we hear the strength, brother. Then.
Well, good night, everyone. My name is Ere Asmis. And Auntie, I said, but my experience feel like last night. I experienced good things. I learned something new. I get to know about the African ancestors and things, but although I'm a Garifuna, I still love it because I have my own ancestors too. Yeah, but this morning, I learned something new as well. Like when the professor put honey on her hand and he told us to lick it.
Good, Eric. Good.
Well, I experienced we get to meet new people and play drum for them, and I feel good because of the second year.
Oh, good, good, good. We like having no, but I mean one lot for we, for no say. Uno like there too, and uno appreciate the sacrifice to make our Auntie Alana. All right, I know one time I not got a mic on a talk, so I want to talk now.
So I feel for last night and this morning. Well, last night I feel something like an elderly person because I get plan about like this morning I'm there around elders and I learn new things.
Good, good, good. Him with the wrong elders and he learned new things. Makahaya Ethan, what you got to say?
Last night I may feel good and this morning I may feel sleepy.
Then get up early this morning. It's the last night he may feel good and this morning he may feel sleepy. Yes, Brother Ronald. This is a community conversation.
I'd like to say thanks to each of you for the music that you provided this morning and for the other young persons who are here this evening. Particularly yourselves as young men. I am proud to be involved and to be a part of this process and to engage you in whatever way is possible. Whenever you look at yourselves in the mirror, know that you are a gift of creation and you have a role to play in changing our country and even the world. So it's not where you were born or where you are, but simply to know that you have a role to fulfill. And do not let anyone small group of persons who were out by the pier this morning. It has been broadcast across the world. It's on the TV station, it's on social media, Facebook and YouTube. So if you go back, you'll see yourselves and there'll be thousands and more persons who will see it even after today. So know that you have done something that is contributing to change and to be proud as I am, and I'm sure all of us are, of you. Thanks.
Big thanks, Brother Ronald. You know, we don't often get this opportunity, especially for young black youths. For in a community like this, in a more public space, and I can way fast to invite you know. Way fast, and that's why it's so important that we bring on us people still the talent. You know, I look back as the years go by, because we intend to bring on every year. You know, I remember their moments. You know how to feel what they did by oneself. You know, I think about their moments. You know, I never ever forget it. Okay, Brother Gus, I feel so excited because this is different than what we usually have every year. For have the children actually participate. You know, want to ask me any question? Anything you know want to ask me? Ask anybody in here, Brother Gus. Anybody want to ask any questions? We can give Brother Gus the mic back if you want to say something else.
No. Okay, so I want to hear from our sisters as well. But before I invite you to share, I just want to, when my brother was speaking and addressing you, something occurred to me which I want to share with you. And it is this. It's important for you to big up yourself, right? Big up yourself, because for me it is refreshing and exciting to see people as young as yourselves understanding the tradition, understanding and learning drumming. When we spoke last night, I talked about the relationship between the drum and our spirit. The relationship between the drum, our ancestors, and we use it to summon them. So what you do is you take it for granted, but it is crucially important in our culture and in your individual lives. Because when you play the drum, you express something of your own spirit between that spirit and the spirit of your ancestors, the spirit of deities, and those who are effectively directing you in the way that you do your drumming. And that's something to be celebrated. But I want to say something else as well. This morning I shared a bit about my own background and the fact that I grew up in a very poor family and didn't wear shoes until I was 11 and all that kind of stuff. And I did that for one reason, and I want to repeat it here for you, all the young children in this room. And I'll put it like this: never let where you are now or where you've come from determine how far you can go. Absolutely critical. And don't let anybody put barriers or limits on your potential. If anybody had told me when I was your age that I would become the first black director of education in the United Kingdom, I would have thought they were dreaming to the point of being bonkers. Because it seemed implausible. A totally illiterate father, a mother who was semi-literate, both of them peasant farmers, eking out an existence. My father had to leave and find work elsewhere. And I having to get up at 4:30 every morning to go and tie out a whole heap of goats before making breakfast for myself, cooking something for my mother to take to the land when she went to the farm, and then going in the river and bathe before catching my bus at 7:45 to go to my secondary school. But we don't always know what our purpose is until it begins to unfold in front of us. And the important thing is to be open to opportunities, and at the particular stage that you're at just now, to make sure you are using your talents, making use of every opportunity that you've got, and believing in yourself. Self-belief. Which is why I shared this pledge that I made to myself at a fairly early age. Let no one, let no circumstance, let nothing, not even your own timid self, render you less than you are or less than you know you have the capacity to be. So in spite of all the deprivations and the disadvantages and the poverty and all of that kind of stuff, what the Creator wants you to be, you will be. But you could choose to be something else. And it's a question of how you prepare yourself to know which choice to make. So self-belief is quite important. And being able to be confident in your own skin as black children, girls or boys, and not allow people to feel that because they're richer than you, or they're white, or they're born from a particular family, they could look down upon you and encourage you to have lesser view of yourself. We operate because of race, because of class, because of power. We operate in very hostile environments. And we need to put iron cladding around ourselves to be able to plow through all of that stuff and be who we are and work to our full potential to realize our purpose for being on this earth. So I want to thank you for what you shared last night, this morning, and now. And I know that because of what you do and how you do it, you're constantly inspiring other young people so that those who went before you kept this tradition alive. You in turn will keep it alive and hand on the skill, the process, the learning to others in that continuity that I was talking about before. So, big up everybody.
Thanks. You want to say anything, Ras Ruben? Brother, I'll share a little bit. For say, if you remember when you're like for their age, and the challenges you may have had, just the life you may live, and then the person that you turn out to be as an adult, because when you're at that age that you just wake up and do what they tell you to do, and you they battle your way through, and you don't really know what life got for you. So how you start yourself out for have confidence in yourself, for say, what part you don't know as one conscious brother that believes, as one successful entrepreneur, one brother will have one intact family. How you get from their age to that? Because a lot of the time we don't have conversations with young people. They just see you as an adult. They don't know the struggles what you gone through. Like, as a young person, for me, because I dark skin, I mean, I know I look pretty. But then when you're around other people who are not as dark as you hear like people big them up and they said negative thing about dark skinned people, right? So what you for do with that? I mean, that like dark skinned people never get the kind of big up where brown skinned people get. Are they lie? Are they lie? Are they lie? So how you know as one young youth with dark skin, how you for feel good about yourself? Tell me better, Ras Ruben.
Blessed love and reverence. Everybody, blessed love. As a youth, yes. As a youth, growing up, that believes all of we face the same discrimination. You know, if you go in a school, you always feel the same discrimination. But as the time they progress, right, we get more role models will look like us, and we become more conscious that they hide a lot of we history. They hide for we past from we so that we don't know who we are, you know, and bringing this this effort where you guys make for always bring somebody come represent, play a big role, you know, like my life and people life we're conscious, right? Because we don't get a lot of exposure to Belize. This is why we suffer this sufferation. They keep we isolated from the world and keep we in this box where we continuously fight for ourselves. Like today somebody dead that Belize, one figure that Belize dead, right? And the whole society, you could see the difference in the street right now. You could feel the difference in the atmosphere right now. That's why they call it atmosphere. You understand? Because it changed everything. Whenever anything happened, it changed everything. So like we are like an endangered species. I myself that like, wow, you know, like one of the few way transist and make it to a next level. I don't reach to safety, but I in a different position, so to speak, than a lot of my brethren there, because I transition to a level. But I still a black man, still living in the same area, still have a past. If anything happened to me, then hollow my whole history and justify my whatever happened to me. We still living in the same place. Then I tell you, well, Ras Ruben different. Then I tell you, well, him in up on the street too. Him in this such a gang. He get charged with this such a crime already. And a whole history where could justify that I could be killed too and I supposed to be dead too. And we in this society, we accept right now that once you do a crime, your past can haunt you and you feel dead too, and that's the norm of society. And we can't change this trajectory right now if we not show the youths here that really the decision in our phone hand for help we. Because you don't have like you, talented. You're a talented person. You could stop everybody right now for a whole 5, 10, 15 minutes for even think about what they think about and meditate upon what you to do. Just through your talent what God give you. And if we would have tried nurture all of the youth, then like what I said, we never know whether with talent at an early age, you know, gifted for you young. So you know, aware of your talent for you young. If we as a society, maybe as a country we can't do it, but as a society, black people, if we could help the youth, they see their talent and help nurture this talent, we are get more out of we people there right now. Because when the youth they don't got no talent, next people prey upon them. And then they become victims of the same violence where easy to get pulled in. You understand? But if you got talent in your heart, you say, I could make it off of this talent. You understand? If you talented in anything in your heart, you think you could make it. You understand? But if you don't know your talent, you want feel like you're worthless. And we live in a society where discriminate against we because we done black, and then we ourselves discriminate against ourselves and feel like we don't have no self-worth, so we at a big disadvantage. That's why when people think about Emancipation Day now, the only thing that we could think about here is Bob, they say, emancipate yourself from mental slavery, because the biggest problem we face right now is for we mind as people. So we as our people need to conquer for we mind so that we could help the youths there. Blessed Lord.
Respect. Big salute to that. Okay, we're going to close out the circle. I want to give, on behalf of the Breddah Educational Foundation, we want to give Breddah Gus John a gift. Now, we like to give people gift of books. Now, me don't know when I'm going to get an airport and a bag, I think a luggage overload because the book is heavy. But we know the importance of books and of knowledge. So, on behalf of the Breddah Educational Foundation, Breddah Gus, we're giving you some Belizean books. A good 4 or 5, honey. They're a bit heavy, but we know how much you value books. And yes, you could open, oh, Brother Gus, no, people don't usually open their gift here, you know. But Brother Gus, here, say something to the people while I open it then.
You'd have to come and carry it to England, man. It's as heavy as hell.
But we'll have to give you, okay, so in this gift we have 2 fans that are made by Belizean women, one Annie Flowers and the other one Peggy. These are enslaved African women in Belize. And so they have fun. We have them for sale. If anybody want to buy, $10 each. And then we have UBAT Conversations and Oral History Source Books by Dofer Joseph Eo. Like one shush book. UBAT is the Black Power movement of the 60s, early 70s. And then we have this notebook on Peggy. And on the back, we commemorated all the years that we've been organizing African Emancipation Day. And then we have the Free Your Mind booklet, which are one of the most recent publications on African people in this country. And then you have 2 really good, rare source books. When Maya and African Studies were introduced in the primary school, it didn't work out well, but they did have these books, and they're really good source books where you learn more about African and indigenous people particularly. So this one is called Belize New Vision, African and Maya Civilizations, the Heritage of a New Nation. And then the last book, and I mean a lot of people wish that I have them book, is Towards Understanding Belize's Multicultural History and Identity. So these are really good source books, especially for African descendants or African people of Belize. I don't know how you care who want anything, but anyways, we're there about, usually we schedule about an hour community conversation and reasoning, and then after that, the food. Now, like say, I spend the money for food, and I tell them we spend, we budget for food. So, lot of food there, we say, I care home, I know I care home food, because we have a lot of food. But Brother Gus, this is your final reasoning with us. You leave on Sunday, and we want, our African ancestresses and ancestors are pleased with us. One, we're still here, we're still the resist, and we're in communication. A great sacrifice shall come, and we value it. The things are serious, right? I tell them, brother from Corozo about you, and the brother said, give me the man number, I need to come to Corozo. So now they want to Corozo. And I saw you make links with people. People starving, people hungry, people want to know about with African ancestors and ancestors. And like Brother Russ Rubin say, they keep isolated. So up to we, you the individual have to be willing and curious to learn more, not fuss over anything. When you know no rent anything, stop it, you know. And so it's important that we start to nurture with curiosity. If you want to know something, ask. Nothing wrong with asking questions. And then people can't help you if they don't know what you need. So one more time, I want to thank the community. We couldn't do this every year without community. The Belizean community come through every time in every way. Big thanks to Russ Rubin, Kim Grab and Go, taxi drivers, hoteliers, everybody will contribute. Flora's arrangement, everybody will help with niche. We want to say big, big thanks, and we want to continue to do what we do. Every year we got health and strength. We want to continue to honor our African ancestors and ancestors. And one of the big takeaways I get from you, Brother Gus, we are not free. We are not free. We don't need to hear that. We might not have, we don't have no shackles for your hand, we could say, but most are we mentally enslaved. And once you're mentally enslaved, then got you. You can't get back to your ancestors and ancestors if you not choose that, you know what? This is not of me. How I want to look how I look and think say white Jesus okay. If we come from the Creator, then the Creator look like we, right? So I really want to start to question ourselves that on a granny, that on a map, right? So then that on the people, then cable to the nurture on. So even after they're dead, that for them spiritual call upon, we can take care of one them there, right? And as Gareth and I used to know the importance of ancestors and ancestors. So thanks everybody. We get more hour. Thanks XTV. Thanks Energy for the PA system. Gonna walk good, and walk good mean that you walk with you.
Well, that comes to the end of our broadcast for today.